Eastern. That way we don't cut into Slacker 82 and Beans and Weenie and Shannon. But Thursday you'll have this normal time slot along with Monday and Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. So tomorrow, not 6, right?
And then Fridays will probably be 11 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. I am supposed to do an interview tomorrow. I haven't heard back though, so I'm not sure yet. So the 6 o'clock time probably won't even be. It won't even matter. But what I want to get right into. So I woke up this morning, saw the update situation saying that Russia had started to pull soldiers off of the line, kind of hinting at a de-escalation of the situation. And it looks like diplomacy is still on the table. So that was good. However, then you have the NATO side of it saying that none of those statements have been confirmed or verified, is what Biden said. But I do want to go ahead, before I even get into this topic, and play this clip from Biden's update today. Again, nothing Biden said was bad, or he's just giving an update. But he did say something that caught my ear, and that has been in the papers as of the last hour or two. And just take a listen to this, though.
To enhance defensive readiness. And if Russia invades, we'll take further steps to reinforce our presence in NATO, reassure us for our allies, and deter further aggression. To be clear, if Russia decides to invade, that would also have consequences here at home. But the American people understand that defending democracy and liberty is never without cost. This is a cause that unites Republicans and Democrats. And I want to thank the leaders and members of Congress of both parties who've forcefully spoken out in defense of our most basic, most bipartisan, most American principles. I will not pretend this will be painless. There could be impact on our energy prices. So we are taking active steps to alleviate the pressure on our own energy markets and offset raising prices. We're coordinating with major energy consumers and producers. We're prepared to deploy all the tools and authority at our disposal to provide relief at the gas pump. And I'll work with Congress on additional measures to help protect consumers and address the impact of prices at the pump. We are not seeking direct confrontation with Russia, though I've been clear that if Russia targets Americans in Ukraine, we will respond forcefully. And if Russia attacks the United States or our allies through asymmetric means, like disruptive cyber attacks against our companies or critical infrastructure, we are prepared to respond. But we're moving in lockstep with our NATO allies and partners to deepen our collective defense against threats in cyberspace. Two paths are still open. For the sake of historic responsibility, Russia and the United States share for global stability, for the sake of our common future, to choose diplomacy. But let there be no doubt. If Russia commits this breach by invading Ukraine, responsible nations around the world will not hesitate to respond. We do not stand for freedom where it is at risk today. We'll surely pay a steeper price tomorrow. Thank you. I'll keep you informed.
And obviously, he didn't answer any questions. He had to muster up a whole bunch of energy to go out there and sound like a badass. I guess he sounded like maybe an eighth of one in that speech. But if you guys, for those of you that are new, probably didn't hear the whole clip, what I wanted to point out, though, was what he said about gas prices. Now, one of the, I don't even know if this is a sanction, but one of the threats he's using against Russia for invading Ukraine is that the, is it Nord Stream 2, Eric, or Nord 2 pipeline? Which goes from...
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was... I don't know why I have Nord Stream in my head, but I think it's something Nord Stream 2 pipeline. It connects Germany and Russia, and it's a major source of energy for the Germans. And he said that they will eliminate that if Russia invades Ukraine. That is what would cause that and not getting any oil from Russia in the U.S. because we do import a lot of oil from Russia. That's what's going to cause this gas prices to skyrocket here. And I want you to think about this. Putin knows what goes on here in the United States, just like Joe Biden knows what goes on there in Russia. I guarantee you they both are very well aware of the circumstances that the other person faces. But I think Putin knows that Biden is under a lot of pressure politically right now. He knows that we have the highest inflation that we've seen in 40 years, particularly in gas prices. He also knows that Biden has a kind of like an anti-oil agenda, right? He's all about the climate change. He's all about electric energy, clean energy, whatever. But we still rely on oil. Now, I'm going to ask maybe 2 questions here, maybe 3. I don't know the answers. I'm speculating. It just made me think. 1, is Putin going to use this as leverage on Biden? Because Putin knows if he invades and they interfere with the pipeline and gas prices do soar here, all it will do is put more pressure on Joe Biden. Because not a lot of people here, I think, for the most part, don't want us to even be involved with this Ukraine situation. Yeah, do I support Ukraine? Yeah, I do. If I was siding with people, obviously I side with Ukraine on this. But at the same time, it ain't our fight, and I don't think we should really, it's just not our place. Why do anything that's going to impact anyone here in the United States? So even if half the population in the United States agrees with what I just said, and we have gas prices that are just skyrocketing because he wants to punish Russia for invading Ukraine, he's going to take a lot of heat because he's not doing anything. Like, he's putting this on himself. That's the first question. That's the first thought, and I guess it could be a question. You guys can let me know what you think. The next thing I thought about was is Biden doing this as an excuse for the oil prices? Obviously, we know gas is way up. So I don't count 2020. Yeah, gas was under $1 or under $2 in 2020. Great. You know why? Because no one was driving. Everyone was at home. There was so much supply. Oil went negative. Okay? Like, they were paying people to store oil for them during COVID. And that's why you're seeing a huge difference, right? That's why gas was so cheap during COVID. But before COVID, in 2019, 2018, gas was, at least here in Tennessee, about just over $2 a gallon. So it was still very low. Now, someone like myself, I drive a lot for work. My gas expense has gone up roughly 60%. 60 to 70%. Again, I'm not counting COVID. If you want to count COVID, then it's more than doubled. I don't count that because I understand what that situation was about and why gas was so cheap. I'm going back to 2019, 2018. All right. Regardless, though, Biden hasn't done anything as far as policy-wise that would allow the United States to keep gas prices low, nor does he even want it to be low. His own Secretary of Transportation has made the statement that people driving, or people that live in rural areas, drive more and they need to go to electric cars. They want you to phase out of this. I think that, some of these high gas prices could, I'm not saying Biden could control all of it, right? But he could help a little bit in a few different ways. But he has no reason to, because that's just not his agenda. And now he's saying, like, he's up there saying that it's going to get worse, and that we need we need to be ready. If Russia invades Ukraine, then we're going to feel it here in gas prices. Maybe so. But there's a third thought of this, and now I can't even remember what it was. But those are the first two things I talked about with the gas prices. I thought, okay, is he lying to us, and it's just a excuse? Or is Putin going to see that and use it as leverage and just go and invade Ukraine anyway, knowing that we're going to be pissed off about the gas prices regardless? Now, with that, I briefly looked up before I got on here at the gas tax, because I had seen something that said they were trying to eliminate or temporarily eliminate the federal gas tax. That's probably what he's talking about in the form of taking measures to try and alleviate the impact of the cost of gas for Americans if Russia does go and invade. I imagine that's what he'll do. Chris, I agree with you, and I'm sorry I'm not reading all the comments here. I'm trying to collect my thoughts, but I just saw that one. I believe Biden does want a war. I 100%, when you listen to the narratives on the Russian side and the narrative on the NATO side, all right? I don't know what the intentions are of Russia. I know why it's in Russia's benefit to invade Ukraine, but it really does seem like the United States and other allies, they want this to happen. They want an invasion. I feel like Putin could withdraw all 150,000 soldiers, to the freaking eastern end of Russia, and still say that there's a chance they're going to invade Ukraine. And honestly, who knows what to believe anymore? You hear that Putin is withdrawing soldiers, that they were just doing military exercises, maybe so. And you have our leader getting up there saying, no, they're going to attack at any time, possibly, and it could really hurt the United States. And it's almost like he's saying the stuff about the gas prices, trying to make up an excuse that if it does happen, he has a reason to start blowing Russia up. Not nuclear-wise, just, launching attacks against Russia. I think they do want a war. I do. They're war hungry. I'm sure they have little operations going around the world right now. They always do. But we don't have it. We're out of Afghanistan, right? Biden fucked that whole thing up. So now he needs something to make up for it. He's got to redeem himself. This is what I think a lot of this is. It's a pride issue. I've said the pride issue before. What they said? Nope. Where's the biggest location for? Oh, they're talking about something else. And I'm gonna open up the lines here in a second, but I've said this pride issue before. I've said that Biden is in a bad situation from the time Russia really started, back in January or early January, when they really started moving people to the border there. I said, Biden pulled out of Afghanistan and made everyone look weak. Or he made himself look weak. Not everyone look weak. He made himself look very weak. If you look at when Russia started making these moves, they started doing it like back in March or May last year. And then they really ramped it up in September and October. And They did that in response to Joe Biden. They want to see how far they can push him and what he'll do. I honestly believe that. And, you know, he has no choice. He has no choice but to put soldiers over there and go and fight a war with Russia if they invade Ukraine. I fully believe that he will interfere. They will tell us something happened and probably do one of those false flag operations they've been accusing Russia of trying to do, and give us a reason to get involved. I would not put it past him. I'm just saying, as this goes on, and Biden keeps telling the whole world on what his plan is to do, and letting Putin react off of that, I mean, the odds are not in Biden's favor on this. It's not. Definitely not. He has dug himself a fucking hole. So that's my little spiel on Russia. You guys can go ahead and call in now, and get your opinions on it. And I apologize, I'm not more prepared today. I've been running around and didn't have a lot of chance to get things ready. But Raccoon, you there? Did he not?
He appears to be muted. I don't know.
He's not showing up on my end. I just invited him again. There we go. Hey, hello. Oh, there's Marcos.
Hi there. Hi guys.
There's Raccoon.
Hello.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah, here's something that I've been able to dig out of all the crap that they've been throwing out. Okay. Mm-hmm. If Russia wanted Ukraine, they would have took it last year when Biden was at his weakest point. They're not worried about Ukraine. They have the ability to put their own people on their border. They haven't started battling out in Ukraine yet. Mm-hmm. And one person put in there, they're afraid the CIA will get dirt on Biden family. Well, the CIA's not going to cut their own throat because they're in on it too. Okay. They are not the people's friend. They are the politicians' friends. Mm-hmm. That's why they're the largest drug running organization in the entire world. Yeah. This whole thing is a stage setup, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be in continual fear porn mode just to keep people from not looking over there, but look over here.
Do you think that it's staged on both sides or just ours?
I think it's staged on both sides because, you know, people have short-term memory loss and long-term memory disability. Okay. Mm-hmm. Think back when Putin handed Donald Trump the soccer ball, and he said the ball's in your court.
Yeah.
What was in the soccer ball? Maybe the chips to the information. They already have it.
I don't. Well, the World Cup. The World Cup was going on there.
This administration to cut their own throats.
Yeah. Well, the World Cup was going on in Russia at that time. I think that's what that was about too.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I know. I'm just
saying.
That's
the whole thing, because at that point, the whole mess of dirt was coming out about the Biden meeting through Hunter, and all of a sudden Hunter's with one of the biggest oil companies in Ukraine, and billions were coming out, and this guy had absolutely no experience in marketing or running a gas company, or even making decisions for a gas company, kind of like our own.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
go ahead.
John Gale sent me something earlier, and I had seen it on Facebook as well. And I'm trying to get. It looks like maybe Forrest Gump here knows something about this, but I just invited him as a speaker. I don't know if he'll call in, but it talked about all the natural resources that Ukraine has. About how they're fifth in the world at this, sixth in the world at this, 10th in the world at this, blah, 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 blah. And it's saying, it was trying to justify why Ukraine was important. And I responded to John, I said, if Ukraine was so important and the natural resources were so vast and so important, Would you not think that Russia? Oh, big echo. But would you not think that Russia would have invaded Ukraine a long fucking time ago, or NATO would have really been pushing to get Ukraine in the door with them, if that was really what this was about?
That's what I've been saying, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the crazy part of it. What are they going to do? Tunnel out Ukraine for all this stuff they're supposed to have?
Well,
we know more about the moon than we do about our own Earth.
Yeah. Well, think about this too. Even if it was about the natural resources, right? The one thing you know that we're gonna do if Russia invades Ukraine is sanction the shit out of them. So yeah, okay, they're gonna go and get the natural resources, but they can't do anything with it, and vice versa, right? So it's not like it's really in their benefit anyway. But go ahead, Forcio.
Hey, all right. So you got to go back to 2014
mm-hmm.
when they kept saying that Russia was going to invade Ukraine. It was never Russia. It was the
Russian back,
the right,
whatever it was.
It was the right wing of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And now, so it was our CIA, vice versa. But you got to go back to with Victoria Nuland. She was underneath Barack Obama, and she's underneath Biden with Ukraine right now as well. So what happened was since World War II, actually a little bit before World War II, all these countries, Russia, as far as the Soviet Union and stuff like that,
mm-hmm.
They wanted to have Ukraine for two reasons. It's not about minerals. It's about money laundering. And it's also about building a naval base there in Ukraine.
Yes. It's only a year-round port they can use.
Exactly. With that saying, what would it do? It would cut Russia completely off. But at the same time, it would limit Russia from having any kind of nuclear powers, vice versa. So...
Well, how so?
Russia
with that,
Russia's never going to invade Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. How so? Though, how would it limit them nuclear wise? Though, if they were cut off there, because they have the capability to strike wherever around the world.
You build if United States or China, etc., builds a naval base there in Ukraine, they will cut Russia completely off.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go in there and take Russia out. You got to think about the logic.
Hey, Forrest, how does that affect them? How does that affect them nuclear capability? Because they got land-based rockets, and they've always got somebody out in the ocean with their ship and submarine nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't cut them off. It just keeps them from coming into port. So they go to another port and they wait out the winter, play around, and then they go back home when the ice thaws out.
And they would use China.
That's the way militaries do it around the world.
Yeah, and they're allies with China, so any sanction we do is a joke because they would go to China anyway and get it.
Exactly. Sanctions don't do nothing. Look at Iran. Iran's been sanctioned for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't stop them. They still trade with everybody else.
Yeah,
it hadn't stopped Iran from doing nothing. No. I mean, but you got to think about it. It's all about the propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I mean, that's the whole key in the thing of it. It's all about the propaganda because they know that we have a weak president or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Right now. So what's China going to do? What's Iran going to do? You better watch out for Turkey because Turkey's going to be coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
What's Russia going to do? They're going to sit there and do all this propaganda stuff. Now Russia's already started pulling back a lot of their troops. Excuse me, I had to burp a little bit. But so now Russia started pulling back some of their troops from the border of Ukraine because, Joe Biden came out and said, or his defense secretary and all that stuff come out and said, well, Russia's going to invade Ukraine on the 16th. Listen, Ukraine's president came out and said, show us the proof where Russia said that.
Yeah.
Well, show us exactly everything. They can't show nothing.
Yeah. they're going to be out in the open celebrating tomorrow in Ukraine. They literally are dedicating it, or right now I guess they would be, or coming in the morning. They are calling it a day of unity, and they were talking about this. It's like they're going to be out in the open. Like, come on, like it's almost tempting Russia at that point. So they don't believe it. And someone mentioned something pretty good. There was a ambassador. I can't remember where he was, what country he was an ambassador for us for, but he said, if Russia was really going to invade and there was that threat, then Zelensky has done an incredible job at maintaining the calm in his country. Because if you think about it, like, they're going to have this Unity Day tomorrow. People are going to school. They have not changed their lives one bit, other than some few things that are around the border. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Actually, if you think about it, they said people are going to invade tomorrow here in the United States, I'd be freaking loading up, getting ready, so it does make you wonder. And it also, this may be a little bit off topic, but I get why NATO's involved, but Ukraine still isn't a part of NATO. Has Zelensky talked to Putin at all? Or if he has he talked to him that much?
Yeah, yes. Russia, Putin, the president of Ukraine has talked with Putin. The thing about it is NATO is not involved with this. They have wiped their hands clean of this because Ukraine, like you said, is not involved with NATO.
Yeah, but they're keep not having these talks. NATO. Putin has met with almost every European leader in the past week and several times.
Okay. Well, so Zelensky, how you say down last name. He's met with several of the European leaders as well.
Yeah, no, I know, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that why are we doing someone else's bidding if he has? I didn't know if he had been in contact or if it was just once or twice, right? Because it seems like Putin's talking to all of us, but we keep saying we're not going to interfere unless you attack any of us. Like if you go into Ukraine, we're not going to send anyone in there, but we're still negotiating with you for Ukraine. And I just didn't know, well, then I hope Ukraine's also trying to negotiate as well.
Okay. Let me ask you guys this. Mm-hmm. Why has Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, given $600 million to Ukraine for their weapons? Why has Joe Biden come back and said, we're going to give Ukraine another $1 billion? Mm-hmm. You got me? All right.
In weapons or paid for them?
Okay. Go back to 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you guys have done your research, but I'm talking about your listeners.
Yeah.
Go back and do your research. Who was going to withhold that $1 billion?
Oh, Biden.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the same?
What happened after that? What happened after that? Victoria Nuland sent thousands of 300 caliber weapons over to Ukraine for them to protect themselves. Guess what? It got into the wrong hands, the far right of Ukraine. What happened? If you have not watched Ukraine on Fire, got me?
Yeah,
it's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's an hour and 33 minutes long, and it spells it all out. Even though I've known about Ukraine before I even watched that, it's just it's a no-brainer. It's nothing but money laundering. Fear tactics is because right now United States is going broke because of the high inflation. They got to get find somewhere to build back to where they can get money back in their pockets.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Money laundering.
That brings me that brings me to the other part, and I was trying to look this up, but I kind of ran out of time. So I remember seeing, I can't remember if it's the Build Back Better plan or the offsets in the infrastructure deal. When I say offsets, guys, I'm referring to basically what revenue is going to pay for these stupid ass pieces of legislation that Biden has passed or is trying to pass. And where is it here? I have it pulled up here. I hope it's in here. Let's see. But what they were going to do?
Excessive taxation, Mike.
Here it is, right here.
It's called excessive taxation because they will tax the crap out of everything to make up for the war machine that they're trying to launch.
Yeah. So
Yep.
Another thing people don't realize is they've only sent under 100,000 guys over there. Maybe 9,000.
they're
That's a
right
speed
at
bump.
20. They're at 20,000 is where they're at. It's
Okay, 20,000. That's a speed bump.
I know.
That's a speed bump because there's not enough people there to do anything.
Well, they have
It's
70,000
all about
already
fear
there.
porn because people have a mind to saying, "Oh gosh, what do we do now?" And they're sitting there saying, "Well, we have to prepare for war." And people don't realize if they do start a war with Russia, the draft will come back because they will need the bodies to fill in for the guys that get killed.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough people want to volunteer for the army nowadays.
Yeah.
So sons and daughters and brothers and sisters will be going into the army beyond what they wanted to do and have to fight for a war that they have no right really being in.
So now I played that clip earlier about the gas, right? Right here, and this is for the infrastructure deal that was passed, right? So this has already been enacted. Part of the offsets to pay for that is to repeal fossil fuel related tax breaks. $35 billion worth. So now that's opposite of what Joe Biden has to do, right? But if you have let's say you have fossil fuel related tax breaks, right? You have something that's making it cheaper. He wants to get rid of that. So that's the cost is going to increase. Because he has to raise $35 billion from that alone to help pay for the infrastructure deal. The infrastructure deal is in place. This isn't proposed. It has been signed and enacted. They're going to increase the per gallon gas and diesel tax rates. Impose a per mile vehicle miles traveled. Let's see if there's any other gas ones here. Here you go. Oh, by the way, so increase the per gallon gas and diesel tax rates. $15 billion is what they need to raise from that. You have impose per barrel oil tax, $35 billion. Increase aviation fuel tax. They need $1 billion from that. So now people are going to say, well, Biden just said that he's going to take measures to alleviate the cost because of this invasion. Like I said, is it an excuse? If he alleviates it and makes it cheaper for in the short term, maybe a month, 2 months, right? Until this invasion thing wears down. That costs money. What is he going to do? We got to make it back up. Right? He gave you a break. Now he has to impose this stuff, like these higher taxes, to raise the revenue, and gas will actually skyrocket even if they don't invade.
Oh, exactly.
Everything is skyrocket because all the costs of delivery and manufacture will shoot up in price because they don't want to lose their bottom end dollar. So everything's going to skyrocket, and they're going to make money off of it because Congress and the Senate and the president, potato head, do not like to lose money. They will not take a pay cut. They will not stop their money laundering. So they'll continue to raise prices on everything until we can't do anything but accept federal food assistance for everybody. And you'll get told what you can have, what you can't have. It's all part of the control. People don't see it, but that's what it's going to come down to.
Now, with that,
my mind.
No, I agree with you 100%. Let me add a little bit to that. When people get used to paying that higher price for food, I'm not talking about the gas or anything like that. I'm just talking about just everyday necessities as far as food and stuff. What are they going to do? They're going to try to get. That's when like Bernie Sanders and them, they're going to come out. So, well, people got to make $20 an hour instead of $50 or $15 an hour. I mean, the numbers do not add up. You know, they passed, or they've already passed $1 trillion something. I think it's 1 trillion. All right. Ever who was speaking before, I think Michael, was that you or ever who it was talking about the infrastructure and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Well, what they want to do, they want to tax everybody to goddamn death, just like look at Venezuela right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the last how many years back when Obama was in office,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those people. I mean, that's a prime interest. I mean, prime example of how they want us to do. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
want us to be like that. Well, guess what? We're the United States of America. We're not going to be like that.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
here's the other thing. I've talked about this modern monetary theory. I don't know why I'm been obsessed with it, but it's like it makes the most sense of what they actually want to do, where they just can print as much money as they want. And that will then make it to where they can tax the United States only to reduce money that's in circulation, not to pay for spending, because they don't care about the money they bring in for spending. They just care about the inflation at that point. This is like exactly what we're going through. If you want to tax me because it's paying for something the government needs, okay, I get it. But don't tax me because inflation's high because you fucked up. You know, don't just tax me to take money away from me because you can't have it in the economy because there's too much of it in the economy. And I know, trust me, I get the inflation thing. I know about the Federal Reserve. Trust me, I'm very well versed as far as how that works. But when you switch the intent of taxation, you know, to just, it just does not sit right with me. How can anyone justify we're only taxing people to lower the supply of money? Like,
exactly.
As long as they continue to print money, though, it drives the dollar's worth down because it's less and less,
and that's
less
why they will have to
money
raise taxes
on the dollar.
Yeah, and that's why they'll have to raise taxes.
So your prices skyrocket.
Yeah, and to combat that, then now this isn't where we're at yet, but this is where they're trying to go based off of what you said, Raccoon. Right? When they print, they can print as much money as they want. What matters is how much is in circulation. Okay, they can hold it in a room, and it doesn't. It's like it doesn't exist.
And how much is it worth? And Michael, a key point is how much is it worth? If they keep printing money like a daggone counterfeiter, which is what they are.
Yep.
All they're going to do is drive the dollar worth down. Your prices are going to go up because on the gold market, which a lot of corporations deal with, if they can't buy the stuff at a certain price, then they get pissed off and raise their prices again because they're only worried about how much money they can put away and watch the bottom dollar increase so they don't have to worry about not buying that new super yacht or that big mega house. It's all it's about. It's all about power, money, and control. They print the money. The corporations have the power to raise their prices, and we get stuck under their control because we can't make any deals with them.
And this gets worse.
Yeah, okay.
And this gets worse. Go ahead.
Michael, let me go back to what you said something about, you know, they keep printing money. They want to keep taxing this and stuff like that. If to fund the federal government. Okay. Well, hey, listen. I get that a little bit, but the thing about it is, the federal government, they work for us. We don't work for them. But right now, everybody thinks, we've been working for the federal government. They're taking all our tax money and stuff like that. Why don't they just go back to the days where the federal government only had so much money to spend, just like a state? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, they
follow
can't.
Me on that?
They can't go back to it now. It's past that.
No, that was before the Federal Reserve.
Well, it was during the Federal Reserve. It was Federal Reserve is in 1913. We got the gold standard in 1933. But if you went back to the gold standard, it would be 20 times worse inflation-wise right now because there's so many things. Especially you have to understand gold is limited, right? People don't realize there's very limited amount of gold, and gold isn't made on Earth. All right, gold comes from outside of the Earth. Go research it. As far as we know, gold does not come from here. It comes from space. Yes,
it was deposited by other
asteroids
bodies
or whatever, right? It's not normal to Earth. There's only so much, and with a growing population and growing economies, we outgrow gold. Then does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And so you have to keep mining it. You have to keep the supply because you have to have that in reserves. And when you have so much, then you have countries we would have probably more war because you have countries competing for gold at that point and trying to, it wouldn't work out. The other thing is too is this is what a whole argument we had on Jester's show the other day about the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve was implemented just to provide assistance to banks to keep them from going out of business when everyone made run on the banks. When, like with Biden getting up there and saying certain things like this, and people go, oh, I'm going to go pull my money out. The banks didn't have the reserves to give everyone their money back. So the Federal Reserve was created to make sure everyone got their money and keep the banking business.
But that didn't work in 29 though.
No,
but 29 the banks went empty and people went broke because of the fact that there was no control on the banks.
Yeah,
and we still don't have it because
they were
in 2008 they bailed out the damn banks because they made bad real estate deals.
Just like they did back.
So the taxpayer paid for it.
And the banks were leveraging.
You're right. Well, go back to the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
If the gold standard would have stayed in place, got me?
Yep.
We would have been better off because you can go. I mean, people can go do your research, Michael. I'm sure you know what I'm about to talk about. Lyndon Johnson, Nixon was the two worst presidents that stole so much gold from other countries.
Mm-hmm.
That were in there. I mean, it was already poured up. They sent the military in there and they got all the gold, So,
and now I will say though, to your point,
what did they do with it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So about that time, I think it was Nixon is 70. When did Nixon resign? 72?
1974.
72 or 73.
I think 72 is when
Yes.
we stopped doing foreign transactions in gold. About the same time you're saying that they went to these other countries
71
and
was
got
the
it.
year Nixon took us off the gold standard.
Completely. We were already off of it in 1933 for domestic purposes and money-wise. We were doing foreign transfers or foreign transactions with gold and stuff like that at that point. And then yes, Nixon took us off. But what I will say though,
then we went to the petrodollar. But then we went to the petrodollar.
Yeah, that didn't work out very.
Which kind of kicked gold in the ass because everybody had to deal with American money at that point.
Well, that and then look at what inflation did.
Then we had the oil crunch.
Yeah, and inflation shot through the roof. But going back to the point, Gump, on the gold standard, if we still had it, our money actually, when you go back and look, it was actually more volatile back when we were on the gold standard because gold is volatile. The prices of gold is volatile. I know a lot of people don't realize it, but actually go back and look at the charts of because the value of money still changes even if you're on the gold standard, right? All the gold standard does is make sure that the government isn't changing the value of money, but it's still a supply and demand problem. And it's
a supply and demand problem, Mike, but what do you back it with?
Exactly.
Right now they back it with nothing.
Yeah, that's the difference, right?
It's a promissory note.
Yeah. So it didn't eliminate volatility. It actually when they brought out the Federal Reserve, because after I had this dispute on Jester's show, I went and did some research on this just to make sure I was not, wrong or misstating something. But like, if you go and you look at the charts of the values of money and the economy, we are much more. What's the word I'm thinking of? It was more volatile before we went off the gold standard, okay? And depressions and recessions actually lasted longer. We also, when we were on the gold standard, and I'm talking about prior to 1933, I'm not talking about after 1933, right? The average recession or depression, we would hit one like every 3.5 years. Now it's around every 6.5 years. And we don't weather them as long because it's allowed. And I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just telling you how it's worked and what it's done because it's allowed the Federal Reserve to then be able to stimulate the economy when we have like a COVID situation or the 2008-2009 deal. So that's kind of what it's done. But there is the whole thing Raccoon's been saying as far as it being backed because right now it's just backed by confidence. It's supply and demand and then confidence that someone's willing to accept the dollar.
Yep.
That's
promissory
all it is.
Note.
Yep. So, Marcus, I want you to go ahead. I know you've been waiting, and I hope your signal's all right. But
Guys, can you all hear me good?
Yeah, you sound
Yes.
good.
No, I have trouble with my phone. Sorry for that.
That's all right.
I was talking to
Oh, you're going in the Matrix.
yesterday about the Ukraine problem. I was talking to a contact that I have in Ukraine, embassy here in Brazil.
Okay.
He explained to me some things that shocked me, like 14,000 Ukrainian citizens are dead since 2014 because the Russia invasion.
Yeah.
So this number is real.
Yeah.
It reinforced my point, saying that Russia already occupied part of the Ukraine territory. About the resources, you guys were talking about resources. For Biden, would be so more productive to invade Venezuela than go engage in a war against Ukraine and Russia.
Exactly. Yes, that's a good point. And I knew that, but I didn't even think about it. You're right. It would be. Venezuela has crazy amount of oil.
And a final point that I sent you and Eric the document. It's a debate with Professor Olavo de Carvalho and Alexander Dugin, two people that doesn't show in the media. Two people they are intellectuals. Olavo were intellectual. He passed away, but. They instructed their presidents very well. So the Eurasian perspective by Alexander Dugin, if you not understand me, please interrupt. Alexander Dugin, it's a Putin, Rasputin, let me say, like it's a Putin guru, and a former student for Olavo de Carvalho, Felipe G. Martins. It's a advisor for international relations here in Brazil.
Okay.
He spoke to several contacts in Russia, trying to lower down the volume of the possible conflict. The Brazilian president is now in Russia. But the Brazilian president is trying to avoid a possible conflict.
Yeah.
That document shows the ideology behind all the project of state behind all of these movements.
So and I hate to have you repeat yourself, but you're saying that a lot of people are obviously trying to stop this. Do you know if what they're saying in Brazil as far as the odds of there being an invasion, though? Have they talked about that at all?
Can you repeat, please?
Have they talked about in Brazil what they think the odds of an invasion are?
Yeah. All in Brazil thinks it's a false flag from Russia.
Okay. Yeah. Seems to be what a lot of the world thinks, other than the American media.
Sorry?
I said it seems to be what a lot of the world thinks, other than the American media.
It's a different perspective, because we all know what kind of crisis it's happening here in American Latin. So it makes no sense when you have Venezuela controlled by Russia and China. The people dying, and it's a country full of resources. You go to engage in a war in Ukraine defending the democracy. Come on.
So yeah, and I want to clarify. You said basically it would be more advantageous for us to worry about Venezuela for the if it was about the resources than worry about Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is true probably. If you're going to base it off of oil, yes.
Before they failed, they were one of the biggest oil producers in the world.
They're extremely wealthy.
And all of a sudden it stopped.
Yep.
Well, no, the people aren't. The people aren't just the government.
Well, before they were.
People are still running around with wheelbarrows full of cash trying to buy a cup of coffee. That's pretty radical. But we could face that just because they manipulate our dollar by sourcing it to the Federal Reserve. I mean, if you really look at it, Mike, if you look at the cost of a loaf of bread back in the 50s is the same as it was today without the inflation we've been put under, because they keep taxing the shit out of everything and sticking the money in their own pockets. Every dime they go over there, they get a nickel back.
Yep.
And it's split up between all the people who voted with it. Now, the price of bread back in the 50s was a quarter. And if you look at the inflation we have right now and the inflation that was back in the 50s, you'll see that it's still costing us that same amount. The only difference is they've jacked the price up because everybody has to make more money. Everybody has to have this and that. And they want everybody to be happy to a certain point. But if they went and said, okay, we're turning everything back to 1950s, wages would have to go back to the 1950s. But on the other hand, you look at it, 90% of what we have in our homes, we don't need. People have multiple everything in there just because it looks nice, and that's what the stars have in their houses. We have to stop. We have to stop this at the core, which is Congress. And the reason for the first revolution we had was excessive taxation without representation. And our Congress, our Senate, and our supposedly president right now does not have the United States interest involved. They have their own interest in it because they've got their hands in every stock market manipulation going on. They get the insider trading. Can you do that? No, I definitely
can.
You go to jail like Martha Stewart. We'll go to jail like Martha Stewart, but the rest of them all get to do that crap. That's why we're in the position we're in. We've let them have too much power too quickly, and they fended off by putting the propaganda out there to be taught in schools about government and econ. I took government and econ back in the 70s. It's far different than what they're talking about today. They say, well, it's a change of times. No, it's hiding a lot of stuff.
Well, they don't really teach it now.
Facts have been dumbed down.
They don't really teach it now, and then now they don't really teach that stuff now. Like I majored in econ, so my degree is in economics. But before that, I think I may have had to take one economics class if I didn't do business or economics. I think it may have been a pre-elective, like you had to take one or two, maybe just the macro and micro, which most people didn't care about anyway. And then before that, I had to take my senior year in high school, a half a year of government, and a half a year of econ. That's it. And then thank God I went to a private school and elementary school for a few years, and they had a great history program. But they don't teach us stuff. And then when they do, you have to worry about the teacher, especially with econ, being biased. That's, the government's one thing. You can talk about the government, but it is what it is, right? We have a whole writing as far as how the government works. But with econ, it's all theory. And some people believe that communism and socialism works better than, something else. And that's what you got to worry about is bias.
Because of the propaganda. Because of the propaganda they throw on top of it. Almost every academic class you can take, you're going to face bias in every one of them in some form or another.
Yeah.
But the problem is, teachers don't teach the subject anymore. They reinforce an idea that goes beyond our own Constitution.
Which goes back to what we talked
I mean,
about yesterday.
You talk to somebody and they start screaming at you and they say, well, you can't talk to me like that. And you're sitting there trying to talk to them. And
yeah, he was talking about people getting paid higher wages. I don't care how this comes across. If it offends some people, it offends people, but it is what it is. Who has always, I mean, since they ran for president, Bernie Sanders always talked about people need to be making $15 to $20 an hour. When y'all know Bernie Sanders, he's independent / socialist and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is he funny? Hey, is he funny as shit? You goddamn right he is. But with that saying, when you start putting stuff like that in people's heads, it's going to make the inflations go up, because then some companies says, okay, well, we're going to pay you $20 an hour, when actually you should be making $7 or $8 an hour. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get what he was saying, but if you want to better yourself, you got to start at the low end of the totem pole, as per se, as we say here in the South. Because nothing was ever given to me. I always had to work for whatever I got. Got me?
Yep.
I still have to work for what I have today and what I'm going to have tomorrow. So if I'm not going to pay somebody, if I'm an owner, I'm not going to pay somebody, flipping burgers, because hey, I done a lot of burger flipping back in the days of Hardee's and Jack's and stuff like that. I'm not going to pay somebody $15 an hour to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
And what does that do? It brings up the inflation. It brings up the cost of the living and stuff like that. And that's one big piece of pie that you just can't do. But what are they doing? They're doing it.
Yeah. And
I was a contractor. I was a contractor for a few years, and let me tell you something. I got caught up into it. When you're trying to make a living and you have to hire people and you got to buy materials to do things with, a lot of contractors will escalate the price 60 to 100% just because they want to make extra money to get that cost of living for them up.
Yep.
See, back in the day when all this came around in 1913 and crap, people only made about $15 a month.
Yeah.
They owned their own property because they settled it. They raised their own vegetables because that's all they could afford, and they raised their own meat because that's all they could afford. Then they brought out electricity and said everybody has to have electricity. Boom, they got something on there. Now you got a tax.
Yeah.
Did you know we're still paying a World War I tax on our phone bills?
Look, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. All right.
Exactly. And they never cut taxes back to help you, only so they feel good.
Well, some people tried. Like Trump did the TCJA, Reagan had his tax cuts, Bush had tax cuts. I don't know a lot about the Bush tax cuts, so I don't really speak on them all that much. But I know
wasn't very much.
Yeah, but I know Reagan and Trump had a big tax cut. That one, Trump's really helped. But Kentucky Prepper, go ahead, because you've been waiting for a while as well.
Oh, I've just been sitting here patient. No, I just touching on the Russia Ukraine thing. I don't think. Well, okay. Let me say this. I hope nothing happens because I still like to buy my bullets and stuff, and that's just going to go out the window if something happens. But in all reality, I don't think, as much as everybody wants to say that they're going to do it, I don't think Russia is going to make a move on Ukraine just because of the possibility of everybody fucking jumping on their backs for it. That's just my personal opinion of it.
I've been saying they're
NATO
gonna.
is far more powerful than Russia and China will ever be.
Yeah, I've been saying, I think they are going to invade. I said it all the way up to yesterday. I'm starting to change my mind now, just off the stuff going down today. But I don't know, because again, Forrest Gump said a lot. about it. So that's kind of changed my mind a little bit too. And then, but just the whole gas thing too, and the leverage that Putin really has on Joe Biden, you know. But at the same time, it doesn't mean he's going to invade. I think he's going to push the issue and try to exploit that leverage, though. Why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah. Well, no doubt he's definitely going to. But realistically, when it comes to power, was because they had limited port access. I mean, most of their ports are over in the wintertime, and that just severely destroys their economy in the wintertime because they can't get nothing out or can't get nothing in. You know, so they kind of, I see from like a Russian standpoint how they needed Crimea, but at the same time, and you know, Putin makes a good point on why he does not want the Ukraine to join NATO. They will take Crimea back, and Russia will lose it. I mean, hands down, they will lose it because they will have the full force of NATO behind their back if they become a NATO member. But now, I mean, there's a lot of things that Ukraine would have to do differently if they wanted to become a member of NATO. A lot of the shit that they do wouldn't fly with NATO.
You bring up a good point there. So
they'd have to change a lot.
And you just reminded me of something. Part of the reason why Ukraine hasn't been put into NATO is they haven't met the democracy standards yet that NATO puts out for the member countries. And I thought about that too. I would need to go and see what the voting structure is like in a lot of the European countries. I'm pretty sure it's like a popular vote or it's a true democracy over there. We're a republic. They're trying to get these voting laws implemented, right? And we talked about yesterday how all that's a part of what I think, you know, is they're trying to change the entire makeup of the United States. There's no doubt about that. But what if I know we are NATO basically, but maybe that's also plays into that as well. They don't like the way that, you know, maybe they're trying to change it because NATO's pressuring the United States that we don't meet certain requirements in that aspect. You know, just I don't know. That I'm speculating. That's just food for thought. Maybe something to go look into. But it does make you wonder when you look at why some of these other countries haven't been put in there. That is something that an article I read today on why they aren't a part of NATO. That was a big reason why.
Yeah, and the thing is, man, it's hard to explain. It really is. We do get stuff.
Kentucky, you brought up good points. You really did about Ukraine and all that. The thing about it is, what did Trump try to do? He tried to say, hey, let's get out of NATO. You know,
not get out, just cut the spending. He just wanted to cut the spending down to the equal amount. Yeah, because NATO. So the average GDP spending percentage is about 1.5% of GDP for a lot of the countries, except for Greece spends more because, and I believe that's because they had that whole financial crisis, so they owe a lot of the countries money. And there's another country that spends a little bit more than the 1.5%, but we spend like 3.2%. We spend way more than everyone else. We spend the most.
Close to 4% of our GDP.
Yeah. We would save $95 billion this year if we paid what just the average rate was. So Trump didn't want to get out of NATO. He just wanted to cut the spending to what everyone else, the fair amount. That's all that is.
Yeah,
well, NATO has to have our equipment to do their thing because they need us and our equipment.
But we don't want to fucking use leverage against everyone. We're a bunch of pussies now when it comes to doing this stuff. We're just gonna give money out and let them use our equipment. That's fair. Go ahead, Eric.
I think the stand that Donald Trump took.
We even train our enemies here, man.
Yep. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, the stand that Donald Trump took is that America was sick and tired of footing other countries' NATO bills, that it was time for other countries to pay their fair share for a change. And then you had Rhino Republicans and Democrats here at home and other countries that didn't like that because they want America to basically do their dirty work for them. And And Trump basically stood up and said, enough is enough.
Yeah. Here's another thought real quick. We know about the Hunter Biden deal with Ukraine, right? What if it's not Russia that's going to release all this stuff and they're worried about it? What if it's Ukraine blackmailing NATO and all of it? Because have you noticed that it's not just Democrats and people that support Biden that support this war?
Very possible.
There's a lot of Marco Rubio, all them. They got on board with this and going over there and supporting them. So it could be Ukraine doing that too.
I'm on to jump on this one right here. I want to jump on this, and I hate to interrupt anybody.
No, you go ahead.
Remember the perfect phone call from Trump and Ukraine
that we had the impeachment over and all that shit? Yep.
Yeah, okay. Remember Cloud Strike?
I know the name. I don't know what it is.
Why Marco Rubio and Republicans would hide the Biden?
Hold on, Marcus. Let him finish because you're kind of breaking up anyway. Let him go and then go, Marcus. But go ahead.
Go back to Cloud Strike.
Okay.
Trump said, "Hey, how about you help us out?" Per se, I'm just paraphrasing here.
Mm-hmm.
You got something over there, blah 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 blah. All right, Ukraine has what's called Cloud Strike. That's where all this stuff came from. They've got all the documentations. That's how WikiLeaks got the emails from Seth Rich. Got me?
Gotcha.
Y'all remember Seth Rich?
Yeah.
The DNC guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shot in the back, considered suicide.
Yeah. They got robbed and all that.
Suicided or undecided, yes.
But they didn't take nothing, That's $300 watch, stuff like that. But it goes back to Cloud Strike.
Yeah.
You got to look it up. Guys. Look it up. On our show, Michael, I hope you don't mind me.
No, go ahead. Plug it in. Absolutely.
Real Patriots Voice, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Rumble, Twitch, and YouTube.
Okay.
Y'all can come and join us. We're off tonight. We got one down. We got a soldier down. But
Shell's down in chat acknowledged it.
A soldier down. So.
Fucking Russia.
But yeah, no, it wasn't Russia.
I'm kidding.
Just go research Cloud Strike, and then you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
I have to go because I know the term. I just didn't know what it was, honestly. But I will, and it's a thought.
It's an enormous database, is what it is.
Yeah, the easiest way to remember it, Mike, is what goes into the internet never comes back.
Oh, I figured that. Yeah.
Okay, and they sucked it up and they got it.
Well, I told y'all I was having more traffic from Russia, right? In the past 2 weeks, like a substantial more traffic from Russia. I'm not even fucking kidding. It's not like a lot.
Alex who lives in Russia.
Really? So maybe he's downloading my podcast, but it's a big difference.
I would hope so.
No, I hope Putin is.
Maybe
he'll put me on the news and everyone's.
Russia's not the enemy.
No,
Russia's not the enemy we've been told of.
No,
because I've worked with Russian soldiers, and hell, they were beer drinking fools.
Oh yeah,
they like America, but they're told that this is what they have to do. It's just like us invading any other country. If you talk to the people who are doing it, they like America.
Yeah.
Why is that? Well, because America gives us a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Free aid, but very little trickles down to them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we're told so many people are enemies. Why are we taking stuff from China then if they're our enemy? Okay, we're not taking much from Russia. 3%, 4% of oil. Hell, we can make that up if we just turn the damn spigot back on up here in North Dakota.
Yeah. Now that was natural gas pipeline.
It's all fear porn.
That wasn't.
It's all fear porn and directional hearing. Is all it is.
I agree. Marcos, go ahead.
Michael, if you allow me, tomorrow I can bring you here to the podcast Colonel who is part of the government, and he's specialized in international intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and he already accepted the invitation. Just waiting for you to say.
Hey, you're kind of breaking up. Just go ahead and try again. Go ahead, Marcus.
I have a friend in government. He's a colonel. He's a specialist in international intelligence,
Okay.
and he could bring a different perspective here in the podcast tomorrow.
Yes.
If you allow it.
Yes. Send me a message on Facebook, Marcos. We'll get a time that works for you guys, and we can have him on. I'm more than happy to have him on.
Okay.
All right. Just send me a message on Facebook. We'll talk about what time. But yes, if you can get him on, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, I mean, it looks like Forrest Gump left. You know, it's funny. I'm videotaping.
We certainly appreciate him joining us.
Absolutely, great input,
guys. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So there's some a string of information that I have been following. I posted a comment about it. Now there have been reports of the U.S. actually using private contractors to ship expired Javelin rockets and medical supplies to Ukraine. You know, the wire guided rocket systems that we used over in Iraq, the shoulder launched wire rockets. There have been reports of us sending those over there. Now I know it's who would actually think that a rocket expires, but they do technically expire because their functionality kind of goes down after a certain age. But there's been reports of us sending those there along with another 100 or so scheduled flights via private contractor to the Ukraine.
100 flights to do what?
Deliver supplies and what have you.
Well,
just as if we were, you know, funding another
proxy
war.
Yeah. Well, we've known that. Like I know, last month they sent 200 tons or something of lethal aid. Then they came back and they said they've supplied them with anti-tank stuff that works well against the Russians. They've been doing all this stuff, so I know they've been giving them stuff. The Russians know we've been giving them stuff too. Now as far
they're
as
doing the same thing they've done with Mike. They're doing the same thing they've done down there in Nicaragua. Send them all the stuff we got that is expired instead of burying it in a landfill.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, because
that's what they're doing.
We can save our countrymen's lives by doing this, by not actually physically going to war with another country, and we can supply another country that is capable of bankrupting a larger country. You know, we did the same thing with the Soviet Union when they were in the Middle East. You know, we damn near bankrupted them over that. Yeah. All we did was just keep giving these guys money and guns, and they did the work. You know, because
China bankrupted us in Vietnam.
Yeah. That's the best way to beat a country is to bankrupt them.
China bankrupted ammo supplies.
If you bankrupt the country, they can't fund the war anymore.
China bankrupted ammo supplies in North Korea and Vietnam because all they do is throw fucking people at the damn soldiers and let them run out of bullets. That's the problem with a war with China. Is they just got so many people. We just hope we can make enough ammunition. I mean,
well, if they start letting them have more than one kid, we'll never be able to kill them all.
They have. They have now. They stopped that. They're allowing them to.
I know. Well, what I'm saying is, once they get it rolling, you know, you shoot granddad and great grandson is coming up the daggone beachhead at you.
Well, see,
never ending supply.
Well, another problem that we run into with between China
I
and
couldn't tell. I smelled something burning. I don't know if you're cooking or not.
Is they have a ridiculous stockpile
trying to figure out what
ammunition and small arms. I mean, they got a ridiculous stockpile of it, and a lot of that comes from the Soviet Union mass producing ammo and small arms. So for global domination, how they were. But
John,
I mean, there is ridiculous stockpiles of that, and that's one thing that they do have on their side.
yeah, here Forrest Gump's back.
One
in
thing
now.
that we have on our side, Kentucky, I don't know if you know this or not, but we have 3/4 of the all the arms in the world. We have 3/4 of the small arms that outrank every law enforcement in every country's army and the ammunition to go with it. We have people have tanks, they have jets, they can't get us with just something simple like a land invasion. They would have to do a overhead nuclear blast to blow out the infrastructure and the grid so that they could paralyze 80% of the United States.
They would have to starve us out to win.
If they
Well,
did an
they
EMP
ain't gonna do
strike,
that because we're the breadbasket of the world right now.
they would. If they did an EMP strike, then I think I saw roughly 90% of the people in the country would die in a little over a month because they don't know how to grow food, and we would be out of it. If we had no electricity, we'd be fucked.
Well, no, we wouldn't be out of food. It's just all these massive crops out in fucking Kansas and Arkansas and Idaho and everything. There would just be no way to get it to the people.
Exactly. And the people don't know how to grow food. And then you have people like Kentucky Prepper and Doomsday's greedy asses that are hoarding all the damn food. I'm kidding.
Hell yeah.
I'm only hoarding enough for myself and my wife for a year. Don't worry.
I'm freaking Mother Hubbard in the cover right now.
I need the shells off yet.
I got to go to the store. I'm just like, hell, I don't want to. I'm too cheap to go buy more than a week's worth of food at a time, let alone freaking just stock up on shit. Maybe that's a fault of mine. I'll be one of those dead people. But
that's at least $500.
What's that?
Yeah, exactly. Remember when Joe Biden said, "I got the nukes and F-35s." Got me?
Yeah.
That was because y'all I forget who it was brought up he'd have to drop a nuclear from the air. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a direct threat. Got me?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
You better get your asses prepared. I'm not saying he's going to do it, but thing about it is we're the main export to other countries. We don't import a damn thing, except for some things
when it comes to food.
It's actually from we actually import wheat. I don't know why from Ukraine. That's their main export far as from Ukraine. I don't know why
Ukraine is one of the largest wheat exporters in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
that's because that used to be the breadbasket of Russia, Ukraine, Georgia area was the breadbasket of the Soviet Union. They didn't buy our wheat until they had to annex out those countries, and they started buying the crap out of it. Now they sell it to them at an astronomical price and what they would hear because they want to make that bottom dollar. It's all about money and control. If we just make enough food for our people and piss on the people who can't afford it, we'll send the rest of it over for big bucks and then we'll be rich. That's all it's about. If you grow your own food, you're without the government telling you what you can and can't eat because you're growing what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But they bred that out of us over the years. People have said, I don't need to grow a garden. I don't want to get my hands dirty. A lot of those people are going to be eating grass because they won't know how to grow anything. And that's what the government's been wanting. They've been wanting us to depend on them for every morsel we get, anything.
Well, they're trying to turn the U.S. into a nanny state. That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
At this point, it's been mission accomplished so far.
You'll be happy to pay the taxes because they'll give you groceries when you pay your taxes.
Yep. The United States is the only country in the world, outside of maybe Brazil, I believe, that can feed itself. Okay? Yep. But we have actually, since after World War II, we have actually started to, or not since World War II, since NAFTA, we have become reliant on other countries for food. That is going to be our problem because we have the land, we have the most fertile land in the world, You have the Imperial Valley in California. You have the Midwest. You have the South here, all the way into South Florida. I mean, we can grow anything. Just like my dad worked in the citrus industry. He ran mechanical harvesting for oranges down in Immokalee, Florida when I was growing up. He speculates that the citrus industry has shrunk significantly in the state because of citrus greening, which is basically like a cancer. You have canker, you have citrus greening, which kills the trees. He thinks the Chinese, because citrus greening comes from China, he's like, don't put it past that being a terrorist attack on our citrus industry. And they have introduced it in China. The trees, I guess, can live with that, but ours can't. And it just wipes it out.
That's because China controls our fertilizers and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I've talked to a few of the guys around here who are farmers, and they're big land farmers, 10,000, 20,000 acre jobs. They say they don't know if they're going to be able to plant this year because the price of fertilizers, pesticides, and defoliants for the weeds and diesel prices will push them out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Raccoon,
think about that for a minute.
Raccoon, think about that. You just brought up a damn good point right there. Watch for the soybeans, got me? Watch for the soybean market to hit big time. Because
they all go to China.
Okay, but with that saying, they're trying to suppress everything. Because without with the high fuel prices as far as the diesel and fertilizer,
mm-hmm.
you can't grow good crops of corn and stuff like that. So with that saying, they a lot of even around here in Alabama, that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
You got some cornfields, but most of them nowadays are just nothing but daggum soybean fields. That's it.
Forrest, are you in South Alabama?
That's because the government. That's because the government's farm aid says okay, and I know this because the families that I'm associated with in my genealogy were all farmers, or most all of them. They couldn't plant certain things when they started out a farming bill because they were told to not plant on this land or not plant on that land or only produce this much of a grain or even livestock.
Mm-hmm.
It was to control the food outlets. Okay. Now, just like Marco said, soybeans. Well, soybeans, that's a big indicator because 90% of our soybeans goes to China. They can't raise enough soybeans for their soy sauce. Okay. Corn, beans, and oats, you have to have all three of those because if you don't, you can't really maintain the diet. However, corn is not good for you because you can't digest all of it.
Yeah, it's not as nutritious.
That's why you end up shitting out little kernels when you get done eating corn on the cob.
Yep.
But if you grind it, it's better,
Well, grits are very healthy because that's what that is basically.
Yeah.
With that saying, going back to about our land and stuff, why do you think China wants our land so damn much? Yep. Our country.
Grow their own food.
That's exactly right.
You think about China now.
We'll become the field slaves when China takes over.
Not my ass. I live.
Well, I'm just saying, United States people in general will become the slaves to work the fields for China, and they'll be given a cup of food a day to maintain themselves so they can go tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean that's the way communism works.
I want you to think about China. They have less women than men by about 30 million, I think, right? They say 30 million men will never get married or have contact with a woman, whatever. They've had a one-child policy, and I know they were only able to, they all wanted a male child, right? But they've had a one-child policy for how long? I mean, a long time. And those motherfuckers reproduce and double every fucking 10 years. They have 1.4 billion people. Yeah. They lost like 20 million in World War II. Didn't even dent the population. How many millions did we kill in North Korea during the Korean War? How many million did we kill in Vietnam?
How many starved to death during our Vietnam because they spotted them on with the U-2 spy plane flying over in the SR-71, took pictures of deserted towns that they found out were starved out because of a drought.
Well, here's another one.
And China says, we don't need any help. We got it under control.
Over 100 million.
And look, see,
the other fact,
Good.
the other fact, real quick, men outrank women in China because in the family, you want to carry on your name so you have a boy.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you have a girl, you kill it. You have a boy, you raise it.
With that saying, going back to one child thing in China, now they raise it to 2.
Yeah.
Think about how many murders, as far as I don't know if you want to talk about it, but let's just say murders of unborn or even born children that's happened over the last 60 years in China.
Yeah.
You got in the billions, okay? You got in the billions. The B.
They must well, and then over 100 million starved a starvation under Mao. But they must have a maternity span of like 6 months. Instead of 9, because how the fuck are there so many people? Like they've been dying and limiting reproduction, and they've doubled every 10 years, it seems like. India too.
They've been over 1 billion people since the 60s.
It's just crazy.
Michael, I wanted to touch on something that you just said.
Yeah.
The millions and millions and 1,000,000s that other countries have lost and going to war with us. Even counting the Civil War, have we even lost 1 million due to war yet?
We haven't lost 1 million people in a war yet. No, the most is the Civil War, 650,000.
I mean, all added up together, I don't even think we
because we lost we lost 400,000 in World War II is what the estimate is. Then 650 in the Civil War. Another, was it 13,000 in the Revolutionary War. World War I think we were, I don't know if we hit 100,000 in World War I. We weren't in it very long, but we may have. Vietnam was what, 650? And then we had another, I looked the other day, Afghanistan was 2,500 alone, and then total between Afghanistan and Iraq, another, what, 4,000, 4,500 something? Yeah.
Grenada and Panama were just under 600.
They had that many casualties there? Wow.
In Grenada, we had about 100.
Go ahead.
And some of them were post-war because they died of injuries or an illness. And in Panama, we lost quite a few guys there on that excursion because they were literally going from ocean to ocean.
Gotcha.
And there's guys died in that one, but people don't want to talk about
we
those.
don't hear that. Go ahead, Marcos. I know you want to go, and then Forrest, you're next. But go ahead, Marcos.
Just my last intervention here. I would like to to propose to you guys an idea. Brazil and USA are the 2 countries that can stop the China and Russia growth in terms of influence, in terms of military, because we are the greatest producers of food in the world.
Absolutely.
So this alliance, it's fundamental to save the Occident.
Yeah. We need to. You bring up a good point. I know a lot of people would agree with this. I would like to see a candidate, a presidential candidate, not so much senators because they don't talk about this either. But I would like to see where, they focus on that. Like, hey, we're bringing farming back here. They always talk about manufacturing and stuff. We got to fucking eat the manufacturer. And we don't need to be relying on other people for our food. So that's what I'd like to see. Raccoon, I know you have a statement. Let Forrest go, though, because he was about to say something, I believe. Him or Kentucky Prepper was about to say something before Marcos was talking.
It wasn't me.
Oh, go ahead, Raccoon.
I'll say something real quick.
Yeah.
We had a farmer in office named Jimmy Carter, but he was a peanut farmer.
Yeah, he didn't know shit either.
How did that turn out?
Just because you're a farmer doesn't mean you're pro farming in the United States.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
I don't care who it is as long as they're talking, wanting to bring it back here and focus on that. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, Kentucky.
What I was just gonna say, I just think going back to those numbers we were just talking about, I just sorry, give me just a second.
You're good.
All right, sorry, I was pouring my coffee for work.
You're right.
I just think, I mean, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to brass tacks, man, I mean, we probably have to have in the numbers of somewhere 100 to 1 deaths.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah.
When it comes to war, the U.S. waging war on other countries, and that's with us fighting a war on foreign soil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's us going someplace that we don't even know and taking care of business. And frankly, I doubt if ever a country like, say, Russia or China, everybody always likes to talk about it happening. But I mean, the likelihood of that actually happening, just considering, historically, America is good at fighting war. And there's just no way around that. We are good at fighting war.
But we're stopping ourselves. Right? We keep limiting ourselves because Vietnam is when we started doing that. We didn't limit ourselves in Korea in World War II, right? We just fucking said go get it done. But then Vietnam, they started holding back a little bit more. And then when it came to Iraq and Afghanistan, and that's where, because of the media and social media and stuff and how, visual war is now, it would have to be a country that doesn't care about life at that point, because we've always cared about life. How we view life in the United States and how we treat our soldiers and the nobody left behind stuff. We've had that for a long time, right? But not everyone abides by that. And so
life is why we fight war.
It is. But some countries don't care, right? They don't care. They'll go. The Japanese, like, they were sending their freaking wounded and their sick, on charges just to get shot. Like, the other thing too is when it comes to, other countries. When it came to, how many people we've killed, we killed a lot of people, but Germany actually killed the majority of the Russians in World War II. The Russians lost the most people in World War II, and then next was China, which was killed by the Japanese. We haven't even committed that many atrocities like that. Like, that's freaking on another scale. We killed a lot of Japanese people. What people don't realize is most of the Japanese that we killed came from firebombing and not the nukes. But when it comes down to it, we are a warrior society. And we've been like this since, the Revolutionary War. I didn't even tell people, we created guerrilla warfare. The way these countries fight now, in these rebel countries and stuff, we created that shit. We had the Pennsylvania rifle, which was far more advanced than the English musket. We could line up at 200 yards away in the trees and hide and start picking people off. We didn't care. Y'all want to get up there in line, and we did that a little bit, right? We got in some lines and skirmished it out. But really, we looked at that and was like, y'all want to be stupid and do that shit. We're going to do it like this. Now, in the Civil War was a different thing. We played that game, and we did it with new technology. And the Civil War changed the world because it was the first time that anyone saw what a war would be like with traditional tactics and modern technology. And it just, 650,000 people died. Good.
The thing too, Mike, they were always gentleman wars.
Mm-hmm.
Even as back as Napoleon, they were always don't shoot the officers.
Yeah.
In the Revolutionary War, we killed more officers than any time in history up to that point because we didn't care. We were trying to take out the enemy. They got in several meetings about stop shooting the officers, and they said, "Well, stop us and get out of here."
Go ahead, Kentucky.
No, it's just built. Well, it's because once upon a time, somebody learned that if you take out the fucking leadership, the soldiers run around all lost and don't know what to do.
Well, you know what the thing is, too? It's a mentality, all right? Tell me another country that completely started a new nation, not split off, right? But completely started a new nation after physically fighting, especially the number one most powerful country in the world at the time and the largest empire to ever exist, still to this day, and defeated it. None. Not the way we did it. And I think a lot of the mentality comes to, we fucking escaped these people to come over here. Our it was obviously well before the Revolutionary War, but their ancestors came over here to get away from that kind of persecution, that religious persecution, and all the bullshit that King was trying to do. And they tried doing it again. Then they tried taking the guns, and that's when it started. That's when it went to shit. And people need to realize, when you're trying to defend yourself and you're trying to be free, fuck those officers. Fuck those, whoever it is.
Okay, Mike.
Go ahead.
Mike, something that a lot of people don't realize about the Russian army and about the people they've trained in other countries. And I'm going to give you a quick example after I give you this statement. If you shoot the tank commander in a Russian vehicle, it stops because they don't know where to go. You don't know what they're doing other than driving the tank or shooting the artillery. When we was in the first Desert Storm, Russia said, "Do not engage the Americans. You will lose." They didn't realize that the M1 Abrams could run across the ground 40 miles an hour, track, lock on a target, shoot and hit with 98% effective rate. We took the fourth largest army in the world and again decimated the shit out of them. Russia doesn't want to go up against us because most of their units have that control. The leader of whatever unit it is has all the secrets, and only the people below him have enough knowledge in their job, because they can't cross-train unless they switch completely from a tank driver to an infantry soldier to a mechanic. You're given a job, you have to learn that job, and that's the only job you know how to do.
What do they say? Every Marine is a rifleman first, right? That's the thing. Every Marine is a rifleman first, no matter what you do.
And every jumper is a wind dummy. I know.
And it makes sense. And so a lot of it's a mentality, but a lot of it it's not our military. We to this day, think about this, we have a 100% voluntary army, or military completely, sorry. We don't have one drafted person. Right? We have people that join the military for whatever reason, but they know if you join, you're taking that commitment and you want to fight. You're willing to fight. And
if you re-enlist, you extend that.
Exactly. You're probably more dedicated at that point. Not other countries don't have that. A lot of countries, you got to go and serve no matter what. You have to do a year of service or 2 years of service. And I'm not saying that's bad. It probably would help us. But at the same time, just the fact that people are willing to go and join it and be professional soldiers, that changes a lot of that dynamic. Plus, it's just been bred into us. It's not
the
us.
fact
it's
that
the
every one
politicians
of our
holding us
soldiers
back.
volunteered for what they're doing makes that soldier that much more valuable to the state, because if you're forced into a situation, you're not about it. No ifs, ands, or buts. No. You know what I mean? But if you went full willing, knowing what could happen, you were dedicated.
It also hardens the dedication of each soldier that stays in there.
No, sir.
I tried. He called in. I was trying to get him to talk. I guess he left. But yeah, so it's the politicians that hold it back. Don't do this. We don't want the collateral damage, because they take all that shit when it comes up on the news, right? And everyone sees, oh my God, I can't believe you killed a civilian. Do you know how many prisoners of war they shot? That are the Americans shot? Germans or Japanese didn't even take prisoners. When they tried the SEAL, I brought this up yesterday, when they tried the Navy SEAL for murdering the POW that they knew had planted roadside bombs and been responsible for casualties of other soldiers, and they want to put them up on trial. The other SEALs did the best thing ever when they got with immunity, and then went and took the blame for them. Did you see how they did that? That was the best thing ever, because they understand. They've been there and seen it. We don't need to be the last thing it's no different than a football game. We've been saying this. They've been making rules to make football less violent. Take away head injuries and all this stuff. But you actually cause more injuries when you make guys play timid, when you have to hold up, when you can't go 100%. So that actually causes a lot more injuries. And it's the same thing with war, right? When you can't follow through and go through with what you're trained and you're holding back and you're being careful, you're thinking too much about the wrong shit. And you're going to fuck up or you're going to get someone else killed. And I've never been in the military or I've never been in a war shot at. I'm just saying it's all correlated because we are meant to be trained to do certain things in a certain way. If it's on the football field, you have your plays, you have everything you go through that week, preparing for the game, right? And you're thinking about that. You don't need to worry about your physical play. It's the same thing in the military, right? You are trained to do certain shit. The last thing you need to do is worry about someone running in front of the fucking enemy and you shooting them on accident. Like that, I'm sorry. That
happens on
fair.
Training exercises.
Yeah.
That happens on training exercise. I was the infantry, and then I became a medic. I figured out how to kill people, so then I decided I wanted to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Something that people don't realize is in every battle you have casualties, and artillery and bombs don't have conscience. They're going to fall where they fall and destroy what it hits.
Yep.
People don't realize that crap. And a lot of the times when they say, okay, we want you to take out this guy with a drone, they drop a 500-pounder on his ass. And they take out the whole damn neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to take the blame because they said you can only do this or you can only do that. They hide those specific orders away from the public. And then like in Vietnam, people come back and they're spit on as baby killers.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't think about the time when the Chinese got into the Korean War at Chosun Valley, and a guy I knew who is dead now was a Marine on Chosun Reservoir battle.
Mm-hmm.
He said the Chinese went through there, and if a person was laying on the ground injured or whatever, they just shot him cold blank dead.
Yeah.
We don't do that. I had to take enemy in and try to save their damn life, knowing that maybe that guy's going to end up back on the battlefield and shooting at me again.
Yeah. What you guys have seen? What was it? Hacksaw Ridge with the Medal of Honor winner, the medic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone noticed this, but there's a funny scene, and we'll end on this. They were talking about all the soldiers that were getting let down on the cliff, right? They weren't even in the battle yet. They're all on the beach on the bottom of the cliff. He's Desmond Doss. He's letting the soldiers down, and they're naming. He said, "Well, how many Americans have been, wounded, have been dropped down the cliff?" And they gave a number, and he said, "There's also one wounded Jap got dropped down," and he goes, "He didn't make it." I thought that shit was so funny. That was so funny when he's like, I don't know how many people caught on to that. But
that guy got wounded. That guy got wounded several times while he was hauling guys out of there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What, 3 or 4?
He kept going back because that was his job, and he was dedicated to helping the people instead of fighting the battle.
Yep. Never picked up a gun.
He was a conscientious objector.
Yep. Never picked up a gun, and I think he actually got shot in the stomach in another either later on that same battle that we didn't see in the movie, or in another battle over there. Because what was that? That's on Iwo Jima, right? Or Okinawa is one of those.
Yep.
But so
Iwo Jima.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then he was in Okinawa, I believe, is where he ended up getting shot again. Eric, go ahead and plug some shows in. We're gonna cut this out. Hold on, give me 1 second now. I'm gonna cut it out on Facebook. I appreciate people watching on Facebook.
5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central Time tomorrow.
Yep. And